Victoria has demonstrated her commitment to creating a better and sustainable world through her volunteering activities and involvement in initiatives that focus on youth engagement. Community courtesy visits and environmental causes. She has led cleanup campaigns and community awareness programs on sustainability. As a young changemaker, Victoria is dedicated to finding potential solutions to curb man's negative impacts on the environment in Nigeria. She is passionate about making meaningful contributions to society and inspiring the next generation to take action towards building a better and sustainable world. So, the floor is going over to you now, Ms. Victoria Imaji, and would have 30 minutes for each speaker. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel and the team and the whole community. My name is Victoria. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And I think I need to be fast because the day is already rounding up and there is no power outage here in the Nigeria. Okay, so I'm to speak on the importance of shifting individual and community mindsets towards waste management. I want to state that statistics has shown that we generate over 32 billion tons of waste annually in the whole of Nigeria. I'm talking about Nigeria now. And we just have 30% that are properly managed. This was what I saw. It's a fact. You can go and check it online. But I have issues with the properly managed parts. I can say it's being managed, but I don't think it's properly managed. Let's move on. So I would like to be fast, and I would also like to get your thoughts. You can put it on the in the chat box, right? Hope we can access that, so you can help me if contributions are coming in. I would like it to be interactive. I would like to hear what's happening in Just. Actually, I served in Just for a year, and I know that city is amazing. So let me focus. All right, so I'd like us to understand that for our minds to shift, we need to see waste as resources, not as wastes. Because when we hear the word waste, we're already having the thought of it's no longer useful, it's now useless. So for our minds to shift, we need to understand that waste is a resource that can be innovative and sustainable. So, for instance, now you know the reasons why you go to school, the benefits of being a graduate. So, that is why many of us are in school. I understand that we have some people that are in school because they love to study. But should I say 70 to 75% reasons why we're in school is to become better persons and get a good job, right? So we need to see waste as something that is useful, something we can benefit from, something that can earn us money. Having that understanding, I would like us to see waste also as something that is indispensable. It's an asset that can transform many ideas into products. I'm going to share some of our innovative waste management projects. I have here transforming wastewater to clean water for drinking. I don't know if any of us have seen that innovation, especially on LinkedIn. We have how wastewater is being transformed to a clean water, and also making roads from plastic. We also have making roads from plastic. I think that is happening in South Africa. Then building toilets from plastic bottles. We can see that in Abuja, EcoCycle, another recycling organization, built a toilet in a school using plastic bottles, that's PET bottles. And we can talk about the project you're working on, your community is working on, the eco bio, bring out usefulness, use out of waste. Then I'm going to share one of the ideas I'm currently working on. I was part of an FRSC academy, which I would encourage everyone to apply for by next year. You have to be a Red Cross volunteer to attend the academy. So we get grants to work on our individual projects. So since in Enugu here, we're having issues of water. water scarcity, and we don't have toilets in communities, especially vulnerable communities, I came up with the idea of constructing a waste bin using PET bottles, and also having that bin store rainwater, which can be preserved to during raining scarcity of water, especially in schools. So we have PET bottles being constructed into a waste bin. You can see how we are putting this waste into good use instead of it being littered in our environment. So we should know that. Please, can anyone hear me? Am I flowing or I'm just talking to myself?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly fine. I hope everyone else can.
All right, thank you very much.
We
So
can
when we
hear you.
understand, okay, thank you. So when we understand that waste is a resource, it now has to reflect on our attitudes. How do we manage this waste in our homes? I know many of us are on campus, we're students in just. So how do you take care of your waste bin? How do you manage it? Aside waste, how do you manage resources like water, even your how do I put it? The energy at home. You maybe you don't have light for a week, and power supply finally came on, and you like want to use everything, and you turn on the lights even when you're not around, even when you travel. How do you manage these resources as a person? So it has to reflect on your attitude too. Funny enough, when you start having attitudes like this, people around notice it and they can learn one or two things from you. It also reflects in your lifestyle. Do you take sachet water and you throw it on the floor? Who are you leaving it for? This is our beautiful planet. Who are you leaving that for? Funny enough, it's the water sachet you throw on the floor, it's causing havoc in another part of the world. So having the mindset that waste is a resource, it has to reflect on your attitude and also your lifestyle. I have to be fast now, so I'm going to move on to making us understand it's not just a personal thing. What I'm doing in Enugu now as a person will help change the community together so we can achieve clean water and sanitation. So we will notice that there are some vulnerable communities that what we talk about, we're having webinars and they might not have power or they don't even have an Android phone. How do we send this message? Well, how do we pass it to them? Because they need to get involved too. This is where we encourage sensitization, rural community engagement, outreaches. We go to talk to young people, we go to talk to old people, we go to talk to the youth. Remember, it's a public participation. The whole community has to be involved. The market leaders have to be involved. Everybody has to be involved. So when we now know that, okay, waste is not waste. Waste is a resource. It reflects back on our attitude, our lifestyle. Okay, can Victoria do it alone? No. What do we do now? We encourage everybody around us to know why we are doing what we are doing, why we're talking about waste, why we're talking about climate action. So when we now have this understanding, we can now move on to having an effective waste management structure. Imagine us putting all this effort, pushing and advocating for, waste management, and you now come into the society after segmenting or segregating your waste. You now leave it in the hands of the government, and these waste are not properly managed. So this is where we now advocate for what a well-structured waste management. In Enugu here, we have ESWEMA, Enugu State Waste Management Authority. I don't know what it's called in Jos. I don't know what it's called in Jos, but we understand that these people get this our waste from households, and what do? They just throw it in the landfill. To make their work easy, remember I said it's a collective action. We should learn to segregate our waste from homes. We can have
So
different
sorry, I
bins
wasn't able to
with
listen.
labels on it: paper, water sachets, and the general waste. Our food waste, we can use that for composting in our little gardens, in our backyard, in our environment, in our compounds. So if we can now, when we are trying to enlighten the community on waste management, it makes the work easy for this structure I'm talking about. So we have the government come in because they are the ones that make what waste management policies. In Enugu many years ago, we had the government arrest anybody that throws anything on the floor. You need to see how Enugu was clean. So, like I said, everybody has to put in effort. So the government can come in with working, making policies that are very effective. No littering. Like today in Enugu, we had sanitation every last Saturday of the month. We don't go out till 10 a.m. Everybody cleans the environment. I don't know how true or how effective it is, but around that area we have people do their bits in their environment. So I'm still talking about the structure. These are the policies that has been working, right? And people were mindful of not buying biscuits and throwing it on the floor. Even individuals, persons were mindful of not littering the environment. These are what we are talking about: a perfect structure, an effective structure, a working structure. I traveled out and I saw how structures were working. I visited Japan for a week, and without ease, even children, everybody knew the right thing to do. You throw your debts. If you it was everything was well labeled, and on that spot we have workers already taking out the waste and filling in new waste bins, so new waste bags also. So this is what we are talking about. When we have a working structure and effective policies, it will help us know why this shifts we have shifted, right? Okay, now we encourage us to continue doing it. I hope you're following me. All right, so moving ahead, I want to state the importance why we need to have this mind shift. Why do we need to have this perception that waste is not waste, but a resource? We have to understand that because it's very, very important, because we get to reduce our waste generation. It encourages a mindful consumption. Okay, what I'm getting now, is it not too much? Why don't I just get what I can consume? Then it will now lead to waste produce. Instead of buying so many things, unnecessary things you don't need at home, you can just buy the one you can use. Can everybody here agree with me that we are not being mindful of our purchase and how we consume the items we need at home? So it prioritizes quality over quantity. You just need 2 cups of milk. You get that, instead of buying a whole carton that might end up being spoiled, and that's food waste. So we are now mindful of consumption. We're also mindful of what we are purchasing. Second reason, second, how do I put it? Another importance of having this shift as a person and also as a community is economic benefits. When we have this mind shift, we can now see the economic opportunities involved in waste prevention and repurposing. While I was saying that we should have a shift, and when we have a shift, it reflects on our attitude and our lifestyle, reducing what are the 3 R's? Recycling. When you now have that understanding, it's very easy for you to recycle. You pick up your pet bottles and identify a close by recycling bin around you and just donate it, or you get a token for that. So these are the ways our lifestyle will show that our minds have really shifted. We have a new perception on the matter of waste management. So economic benefits: if you recycle a broken chair, it's being used to produce a bucket. You see that the economic significance or the cost we will have in producing another bucket has reduced. It minimizes waste. So one of the importance of having this shift is the economic benefits we get to enjoy. Then community engagement. When communities understand the impact of their actions, their negative human actions on our planet, on this earth, they are now more likely to participate in recycling, like I just said,
Their
cleanup
negative
campaigns.
human
I
actions
remember
on
going
our
to
planet.
one of the major markets here in Enugu State, and we spoke to the market leaders, and what we were saying was not, it was not entering their head. They just needed money. Give us money. Whatever you people are saying, we don't get it. So I went for an active citizen boot camp, and I asked the question like this: when you want to run a campaign, when you want to reach out to community and they are not really buying your idea, and one of the facilitators said I should just do an interesting simple slide where I can show the health benefits, or how do I put it, the impact of their activities in the market to them. But when they see that their respiratory organs or every part of their body or the health issues they are facing is the reason for their human inhuman actions in our environment, they will not understand what we are saying. So community engagement, find easy ways to let these people know this thing we are doing is not good. We need to work together to make sure we enjoy clean cities, clean environment in our communities. Then another important is environmental conservation. Our perception has shifted. We can now better manage our resources. We can turn off the lights when we are not using them. And our action is what? Protecting biodiversity. You know, when you trash your waste properly, when you dispose your waste properly and you segregate this waste, we won't get to see waste bags on our seas and our oceans and the little rivers we have here in Nigeria. That means we're protecting biodiversity and also cutting down of trees. Remember, human activities, negative human activities on our environment. I understand those woods are being used for something else that is beneficial to us, but we should understand that there are better ways. Clean cooking can be engaged in. So I know many NGOs are working on this. How do we get this to be better? How do we end cut down of trees? That's why many of us here engage in planting of trees. So we understand many has been cut down. Let's plant more. So these are the importance of having this mind shift and all these awareness webinars and everything we attend. So the environmental impact of improper waste disposal, we get to see that this improper waste disposal leads to air, water, soil pollution, and it harms our ecosystem and our biodiversity. When we don't dispose our waste well, where do you think it ends? In the landfill. I know the landfill where we dispose waste in Enugu, people live around those areas, and the air is already polluted. So what, imagine what's happening to their respiratory organ. So when we don't keep our environment clean, when we don't dispose well, when these wastes are not properly managed by the authorities in charge, people's health are at risk. Toxic chemicals are contaminate our drinking water. You think it ends in the landfills? No, there's a way it gets to the ground and it gets to our water, and at the end we see ourselves drinking the water and making good use of them. All these waste and decomposing waste also, they emit, what do we call it, greenhouse gases like methane, and we know how dangerous methane can be in our body. So these are the environmental impact of us not managing our waste well. Are we still together? The comment section is, it's somehow nothing is happening there. So I just hope I'm making sense. Then the social impact, we have health risks. Funny enough, health is actually everywhere. Health matters. It can, we understand when the air is not clean. So when we are being exposed to improper waste, improper disposal waste, it leads to, like I said earlier, respiratory system problems, and we also have skin irritations and waterborne diseases like cholera, typhoid. And you know what? We have children below 5 years. They are more vulnerable. These are the ones that little thing now they are falling sick. So the social impact is our communities are not safe. The local community, the local areas, vulnerable communities here are not safe. Even we in the cities, even though we in the cities, we can have ways to take care of ourselves. We know when the water is not clean, and we have other ways. We can take table water. Those people in the vulnerable communities, can they afford to buy table waters? So one of the social impacts is open dumps is a breeding ground for mosquitoes and rodents. And you know what? When you have mosquitoes in our area, it leads to malaria. So these are the social impacts. We are fighting for how everybody can live well. I've forgotten the SDG, good health and well-being. How do we enjoy good health and well-being when we can't take care of our waste and dispose our waste well? So it also affects our health. Then lastly, it's an economic burden. How do we now manage this waste? Money that was supposed to, be pushed into free education, free donation of pads and the rest. The economy is being burdened with how do we dispose of this waste. That's why they just dig the ground and just drop this waste and they go away. It's a burden for them. Social inequality, marginalized groups are more affected. Our women and children are more affected, and they often bear the brunt. They are the ones that if it just comes now, it affects them more. And I'll stop with this last point: social stigmatization. When you're living in an area where the whole death in your street is behind your house, you'll be embarrassed to invite your friends to come over. And there's nothing you can say because that's what is saving the whole community, the whole street. So you don't feel comfortable inviting your friends over. And you can even you can even hide whenever you see them passing. So these are the social impacts. And also I would like to state some key strategies for this shift. How do we do this thing we are talking about? How do we go ahead with it? We have to talk about awareness and education. We cannot continue, we can continue, we just have to continue talking. I know how many times we've visited the market, and as we go, they have they are still, whatever is in their head is there. So this is why we keep talking, you keep talking to them, showing them the problems. Look at why we're doing this. We're not doing it for fun. Can anyone, is anyone following? Okay, so awareness and education. Awareness and education, local communities, schools, community schools with large population. My organization where I work, EcoCycles, we donated waste bin to a community school, a government school, and you can imagine the tokens they receive every week when we go to offtake these wastes. It's a bin, like the bin I explained earlier, but this one was made with metal. So we keep the children keep plastic, and in the middle they keep pure water sachets. Every week we go to offtake and they get like 2,000, above 2,005 every week. You can imagine how useful the money they get, the token they get, can help solve other problems in their environment, even in school, while also taking care of their environment. So you should come up with awareness in schools, go to local communities, people's home. You can also use your social media, write something with a picture, and just try to spread the word. Awareness and education. Secondly, behavior incentive. Oh, these people have always been bringing recyclables to me. Okay, take this for call card, or a little affordable gifts you can give people to encourage them that, okay, oh, thank you for, seeing waste as money. Should I say money? Thank you for seeing the usefulness of this waste. And you give them a token, incentives. I'll just like to end with, we cannot stop talking. I know it's not easy for people's understanding, people's mindsets they have had since they were children, to change. Me, I also grew up with having my mom, whenever it's raining, she throws the dirt, she gathers them, and it flows with the water, not knowing I believe she doesn't know the aftermath of her actions. So we will need to keep talking. We will need to keep talking to people. It's a collective effort. NGOs will not do it alone. We won't have our government do it alone. Private sector, even the biochemistry study community, you cannot do it alone. Aside having these shifts now, we need to spread the word. I don't know if I'm missing out on everything, but I think this is where I have to stop now. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Okay, so our next speaker is Mr. Agwaza Paul, and I am so grateful, Miss Victoria, for such a passionate and enlightening session. I'm sure everyone here has learned so much. So, someone has his hand up, and we won't be taking questions for now until after the session. So you can just write down your question or reserve it. Our next speaker is Mr. Agwazapo, and I'll be telling you about who he is and what he does. Mr. Agwaza Paul Kernan is a passionate biochemist and advocate for youth empowerment and societal progress. He graduated with first-class honors in biochemistry from the University of Jos, Nigeria, with a firm belief that meaningful youth engagement through quality education and awareness is essential for building a progressive society. Agwaza Paul Kernan is actively involved in mentoring undergraduate students. He aims to reorient their values, emphasizing education as a tool for creating solutions rather than merely earning a living. His leadership initiative hopes to inspire young people to become change agents within their communities. As a passionate biochemist, Agwaza Paul Kernan is driven by a desire to leverage the knowledge gained from biochemistry to tackle pressing health and environmental challenges. So I'll be giving the mic over to Mr. Kernan Agwaza now.
Okay, thank you very much, Biochemistry Study Community. Can everyone hear me? Please, if you can hear me, let me know. Jimka.
Yes, we can hear you. Can everyone else hear him?
Okay,
Okay.
loud and clear. Yes,
Yes,
but
loud
then
and
you may
clear.
notice that my camera is not on. Did you get that?
Yes, your camera is not on. Do you plan to turn it
Yeah, it's
on?
it's 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 not on because there is a power outage here, and I just got back home from work not long ago. So I doubt if you'll be able to see with my little light. Let me see. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you now, but we can just see a part of your face.
Just a part, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. The there's power outage here, so it's dark actually. So
So sorry about that.
yeah, that's why I thought there's no need for the camera since you can't really see me.
Okay, we can see you much better now.
I know, right? I'm using my phone, so that's why. But I guess it's better now, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's alright. So once again, I want to thank the conveners of this program a lot for the opportunity to be here. And for the first speaker, Victoria, thank you so much for the session you took. And I'll actually be starting off by grabbing some of the things she had started with. I joined the meeting initially, but then I had network failure, and hence I had to go off for a while. So I didn't get the other part, but I think I got a little things from when she started off that we actually need to have a shift of mindset from seeing waste as waste in quote as it is as not useful, but as um, resources that we could actually tap wealth from. So to change our mindset to seeing waste as something we can actually make wealth from. Okay, so I will be speaking on effective waste management strategies for biochemical solutions for effective waste management, and then the focus is effective waste management strategies for university campuses, biochemical approaches, and solutions. So just to kind of reiterate what Victoria had already said, we just have to change our mindsets. This is a student community, and it's actually a community that seeks to help us to be able to be problem solvers. You understand? To be problem solvers. Now, what I always tell young people when we get to converse is that if we really want our country, our nation, our society to move forward, or if we really want to change the narrative, then we ought to see education more than just a means, to earn a living, but then to see the reason why we are in school as an avenue for us to get the knowledge that is necessary for us to be able to solve problems. That is the only way that you and I can change the narrative of this Nigeria that we are in. Because if we are not thinking of using our degrees, the programs that we are enrolled in to solve problems at the end of the day, then I think the whole essence of going to school is actually defeated. And I think the people that brought about this idea of schooling may actually be rolling in their graves or wherever they are now, because that is the essence for which you are in school. So the mindset should be that at the end of your program, or even before you finish your program, it doesn't have to be in the sciences. The question should be, what problem am I going to solve at the end of this? And that is why you're going to school, and that is when our societies will become a better place. Okay, so I'll start on this foot. What is waste? Okay, so waste could actually be seen as unwanted, unusable materials. Okay, that is something that is discarded after primary use, or is worthless or defective. In general terms, that is what we can see waste as. But then, like I said, I'm going to be picking some things from Victoria's session. Now, she says that we ought um, to see waste as a means to create wealth. Okay. Now, according to Asa Doron, a Don from Harvard University, that what constitutes waste, okay, depends on the eye of the beholder. So what may appear to be waste to you, to another person, is not actually waste. Yes. So we need to think we can take from this. So what you may think is waste, to another person, he's seeing that as a means to create wealth, right? Now, waste management refers to processes or actions that are required to manage waste, including processes such as collection, transport, sorting, treatment, and then disposal, as well as monitoring and then regulation and regulating waste laws. It's quite unfortunate that when you go to some of our campuses, the way waste is disposed, you'd wonder if it's an intellectual environment. Give example, my alma mater, University of Jos. It's not like not proud of my alma mater or something, but the fact is that they if you want to solve a problem, then you have to spill out the truth first. Tell yourself the truth. That is when you go on to finding solutions to that problem. So you see the way waste is being disposed of in environments that are meant to be sort of a model to the bigger society. It's really disheartening, you know, which makes this webinar, so to say, or this topic very, very timely. Waste management, for us to to come up with or educate ourselves or enlighten ourselves about the best practices, to handle waste in the university community. So my part is actually focusing on biochemical solutions and then approaches on how we can go about managing waste in our campuses. So I would dwell more on that. So now we, in considering biochemical approaches to waste management, it is only proper that we recognize that there is knowledge from a certain field, let me put it that way, that comes to play when you're looking at biochemical approaches to waste management, and that is biochemistry. That is biochemistry. And what is someone may ask what biochemistry is? So biochemistry is simply the study of chemical substances and processes that occur in living organisms, such as plants, animals, microorganisms, and such, and then the changes that they undergo during development and life. I know the study of biochemistry involves a whole lot. It's a discipline that incorporates a lot of other sciences like chemistry, biology, physics. And as a biochemist, or through your study of biochemistry, you tend to learn a lot of principles, processes and stuff. And it is these principles that are applied, in waste management. And hence, we are going to be looking at some of these biochemical principles that are involved in waste management. So, for want of time, would actually look at briefly brush through like three, which is biodegradation, enzymatic action, and then bioconversion. And as we go on with the this session, you discover that they're actually very, very related. So one actually overlaps into the other. So none is kind of like standing alone, but we discover that one or two overlap, stuff like that. Now, what is biodegradation? Now, to degrade, that it is to cut down or to break down, a larger chunk into smaller pieces. And then the bio there, of course, refers to life. So biodegradation is the breakdown of organic matter. We talk of organic matter, it means substances or materials that have origin from living things, which could be plants, animals, or living things. So the breakdown of organic matter using by using microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi. So it's generally a natural process, and then it differentiates it from what you call composting. Now, I believe a lot of us here are done agricultural science. Okay, so you know what composting is. It's just a way of making our natural fertilizer, so to say, materials. So biodegradation actually uses microorganisms to be able to degrade or to be able to break down waste, into less harmful, substances. And then the fact is that for um, some of these waste, things we consider waste, actually tend to be feed for microorganisms. So as they carry out their own biological processes, so to say, they tend to convert this waste into useful products. So to them, what their activity on this waste, what they tend to get, or what they tend to produce from this waste, to them it may also be waste. Okay, so like I said earlier, you know what the term waste is actually in the eyes of the beholder. So what we are considering as waste to another person may actually be useful to create wealth. So they act on this waste. So to them, what they are giving off is waste, but then to us, to an extent, it's no longer waste, but then it's useful. So when you use microorganisms, which are living things, to convert waste, into useful product or less harmful product, that is bio degradation. Then you have enzymatic action. Now, enzymes, for those in the field of biochemistry, you know that enzymes are actually a certain class of proteins that help to catalyze biological or yeah, catalyze reactions in living systems. So they are actually proteins that have been folded into a particular structure with an active site that are able to act on certain other substances. Recyclable waste. You have also hazardous waste. These are waste that have actually been classed to cause damage to living systems and stuff like that. So now the bottom line is that apart from conventional methods of waste management, biochemical methods, that is via application of knowledge gained from biochemistry, can actually be used to management of waste. And of course, just more like off my the focus of my discussion actually, you know, one of implementation strategies for this is waste segregation. You have where we can actually introduce recyclable waste for easy sorting of these waste, like plastics or organic waste. No, and then the focus when you have
Initiative ourselves, waste bin, and weekly we go pick it up and we trash the waste and we put it back. It was we had to use iron and the plastic bin, the little bins. We just constructed that temporarily for now while we think of other innovative ways to work on waste management in our school environments, that's on campus. And we also had cleanup events. Then we also had campaigns where we go to hostels, we talk to people. We had to just put on that, we had to just do all we could in our own level, all we could afford. We also went to rural communities, look at clinics that they have sick beds, mattresses. We had to use bamboo. So to summarize all my talk, we were innovative. So you need to look for ways to be very innovative, get funds from that innovation and help solve the problem in your school campus. If you want, I can share. I wish I had a slide. I would have shared the bin we constructed. It was 2 years ago, so it was affordable. And funny enough, to date, the children still segregate their waste and we come and off take. So if these are the initiatives you can take in your school environment, it will really help and it will go a very long way. Even in UNN here, I went for an event and I saw two waste bin that was donated by an organization, Parents for Future Nigeria. So I also advise you look for NGOs that are around Jos and give these proposals to them, share the ideas with them and see how they can support waste management in the school campus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Victoria, for your contribution. I think she has said almost everything. I just would want to chip in a little bit. Um, what I would say is that there are many sides to this, but she has actually said covered all of them. Um, one is that we need to be deliberate, okay, about these things, and then the fact is that if they say that change begins with me or change begins with one person. So if you really want to see a change happen, then you should take the step. Like she said, we don't need to wait for the school authority to do this. And the reason why you see that people just dump anything anyhow is because, like you said, there is no infrastructure, okay, to be able to collect this waste. And hence people are not used to that, and as a result we could say that there is no system in place. The question comes to mind: will these people, or will the person just go to places like America and just um lick a sweet and then drop the wrap anyhow? No, they will not, even if it's their first day in that place. And then the question that comes to mind is that why would they not do that? Because a system has already been established. And then hence once you step into that place, there's this consciousness that there's a system working. You understand? So if you are deliberate about this, and like you said, even from you can start with just a very few west pins, get collaboration from NGOs and stuff and procure some of these things. Doesn't have to be the school. And who knows, by this action, the school may also be moved to procure more. And then you could actually label. You understand? You could label. At the start, it may be difficult. People will still dump refuse without minding, but as time goes on, because it's a system and it has to grow, people will become used to it, that okay, this waste bin is for this wrap, sweet wraps, this one is for bottles, and stuff like that, plastics and stuff. So I think if we're able to do that, then with time, it's not something that we just start abruptly and then people would conform. But with time, I think would actually get there. But it starts with taking a deliberate step. Taking a deliberate step. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for those answers. Is there anyone else that has a question? Okay, Phil, kindly ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Sir Paul and Miss Victoria, for that. So, I have a question for Miss Victoria. When she was talking about the strategies, one of the strategies, she said something about behavior incentives. Now, for us in Unijust, we know very well that we have women around who tend to pick some of this their the pet bottles to reuse for um, drinks like kunu and zobo and all of those things. Now, I've been thinking, how do we get to stop them from accessing these things? Well, we know they're using it for economic development and all. But then let's say by the time we get our beans and we keep them and it's all, do we let's say do we get to like pay them to not pick from our beans, or we pay them for picking them for us, then we collect from them? I don't know if you understand the question. And then my second question is about you said something about prioritizing. I didn't get it right, which was, you said quality over quantity or something. So are you trying to say that it's better you buy certain things, right, in just little quantities that you think you'd use, instead of wasting? Yes, I know wasting certain things tend to release some things to the environment, especially perishable food stuff and all of that. So how do we go about that?
Hello, please, did our speakers hear Miss Victoria and Mr. Kenan? Did you hear her question?
Yes, I got the question. I don't know if Victoria is still online, but it appears she is. I don't know if she got it from her own end.
Okay, please, can she repeat the question? I actually didn't get the question. But if it's something you can answer, please go ahead.
Philomena, I think you should repeat the question. Philomena.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Can you hear me now, Miss Victoria?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So you said something about behavior incentives, like when someone brings in waste or something, you tend to just
Yes.
appreciate their effort. Yes. So I said, for us in Unijust, we have women who tend to go around picking plastic bottles, especially, right, for other purposes. Now, if at the end of the day we get to bring in our beans and all of that, how do we manage that? Do we pay them so they do not pick from our beans? or we pay them to pick, then we collect them from the women after they've picked, because they are already, this is one of the lucrative business, especially for the women who are cleaners. Then my second question has to do with the thing you said about prioritizing, is it quality over quantity or something. So I said that in as much as um we have to just buy some things. There are things that you may not want to buy in little quantities, but then there are certain things that, especially perishables, that when you buy in large quantities and you do not use them over a long period of time, they tend to release things into the atmosphere and all. So how do we manage that also? Those were my questions.
Okay, so for your first question, you are asking if you could buy the waste plastics from the women to throw a question to you. What's the essence of why are we creating those bins in, like putting those bins in your environment? Is it not to keep the environment clean? Do you have plans to manage the waste? Sorry, I'm asking. I just want to understand your question.
Okay, so the idea behind my question is, these women go around, right, to pick these
Yes.
things, and they could have, like, the few bins we have around, they have access to them.
Okay.
So if for
So
instance we say, okay, we're going to collect waste, let's say plastic, and then we use it for a particular project, and they tend to have this, the access to them, how do we manage that situation?
okay, so I would like to ask: are these women in charge of the waste in your campus too, like in your hostels? Because if you know that they're already manning some areas and the money they get from them, they use it to take care of themselves and their household, I don't think you should interfere. The question was, I think the first question was, how do we contribute to keeping the school campus clean? So if those women are already tackling that issue and they benefit from, getting the waste from this bin, I think you should look at other areas where the bins are not available and the women don't have access to. Or secondly, you can liaise with them, you can work with them. Maybe whatever they get and you get, you divide the percentage. I don't know if you understand me. So it's either you look at somewhere that they are not involved in, or secondly, you work with them. Okay, we are donating this. They can even help you, do the picking. When they go to sell off the plastic, you can now get some percentage and they get some percentage. I don't know if that helps. Then secondly,
Yes,
your
ma'am, thank you.
question was on sorry, can you remind me? Okay, quantity, quality. Okay, you said something
Yes,
about perishable goods, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's why I said we buy what you can use. I understand when you buy in bulk, the prices are a bit lesser. But if you have ways to preserve your perishable goods, that would be nice. If you can, use a freezer or a fridge, but it's advisable. So you don't waste these things. Just buy the one you can use for a week, 2 weeks, and not something you use for 6 months that won't even last up to a month. I don't know if you understand.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if there are any more questions here. You can kindly raise up your hand if you have a question. However, there's one question from the YouTube chat. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the question is, in a case where people are not interested in awareness and education, how can we alleviate waste management in our environment?
Can you come again?
In a case where people are not interested in awareness and education, how can we alleviate waste management in our environment?
Okay. Thank you for that question. I'll take the question. I'll attempt at this attempt first.
Okay.
Now, say in a case where people are not interested in awareness and education. Now, if there's anything I've come
Yeah, don't having
to
fun.
note
Try to keep it
is that once a word goes out, whether you like it or yes, you've heard it. You understand? So for the fact that you are doing awareness or you are educating people, okay, does not mean that everybody would agree with you or will embrace that thing. But the fact still remains that there are those, okay, that will heed to that. You understand? And at times you don't just say something once and then people heed to it, okay, but maybe say something twice, thrice,
and you
it
decided
rings a
to
bell that
just carry on.
this thing may
I
actually be
don't know why it's
important
not
after all.
started. You're
You
right. It's not
understand?
why it's not
So
started. Oh, you're right.
people not heeding to it does not really
There's
stop,
still so much we
or
could do for real.
how should I even put it now?
Be like a biology
It's
lecturer
not it, it,
at
it does
Harvard
it
or
doesn't
something.
serve to
Like serious. Okay, so you're
defeat
going to
the
break
purpose
it.
for
What
which
did
you are
you
doing
say?
that awareness for.
Currently, I'm
Okay,
very confused.
so I think that is my take on that.
I like the whole idea of seeing codes, random codes, popping up, popping up, popping up. I like the whole idea
Is
of
that
seeing.
okay?
Okay, sorry, it's fine, it's fine. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, Miss Victoria has left, so I'm guessing that she won't be able to take any questions anymore. Do we have any other questions? Does anyone have a question? Nobody does. Okay, okay. Wow. Okay, so my question is just, I have a question though. And my question is just that when it comes to waste management in relation to climate change, how much at least of the world needs to manage, or what percent of the globe needs to manage their waste well for us to know that we're protected against the impact of climate change? Or let's put it in a Nigerian context now, at least how many states would we need to know that, okay, we've gotten to a significant point where we know that even though there may still be some places where waste isn't managed well, we still know that a larger percentage is managing their waste well. So what would that look like? How many states would that be for us? Or how much, how wide would the area need to be? I don't know if you understand my question.
Okay, I think I would love to attempt this question in this way, that when it comes to issues like this, there is no too much. That would just be my take. There is no too much, and hence it starts with each and every person. The issue of waste management. It starts in your own room. Let me put it that way. It starts in your own room. Because when something becomes a part of you, when you embody something, okay, when you step into an environment, even if other people are not doing it, you'll be moved to do it, and you discover that because of that nature you've imbibed, you may tend to influence others. There are people that naturally they know that something is not right, okay, or they know that they need to take a certain action, but they will not do that until they see someone else doing it. So, like I said earlier, when it comes to issues like this, it can never be too much. Okay? It can never be too much. So, and I don't think I will be in the best position to say that, okay, when we have 30 states, doing so well in waste management, or when we have 15 or 10, then we can say we are all right. You know, the fact is that it's like a good fruit staying next to a bad fruit. With time, you discover that it's going to affect this other one. Okay, but the more we have, the better it gets. So that is my take on that. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yes, to a good extent, it did. Thank you so much. So I don't think we have any more
Yeah.
questions. If we don't have any more questions, then we've officially come to the end of the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I hope that after this meeting, you've been left with a certain amount of clarity. Okay, someone still has something to say. Biochemistry study community, you can go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Juan, for the opportunity to speak. I want to just take a time to appreciate first our speakers, Miss Victoria Imaji and Sir Paul Agwaza. We sincerely appreciate you here. Thank you for so much wisdom and knowledge you shared with us this evening. And I believe each and every one of us that made it to this meeting today, I hope that we will put everything we've learned into practice. My challenge for everyone is it starts from your room, just like Sir Paul just said. It starts from your room. You don't have to go out there and preach what you are not practicing in your room. So every single thing you pick out from this, just make sure that you implement it. And this is not the end of our awareness, just like we heard earlier. It can never be too much. It can never be too much, right? And that is why we divided this online webinar into two. In next 2 weeks, we'll be having another live session like this, where we'll be having waste to wealth stories. We'll have other speakers come and show us how they were able to use waste from their environment to be able to make money. I remember one of the solid points that Mr. Paul mentioned was the fact that waste can be a waste or a wealth depending on the who is building it.
They're talking too much.
We are going to prove to you that waste is more of a wealth than it is waste in
So
quotes.
you like
Right,
storyboards
by
or
the next 2 weeks, we'll bring some persons to come and
have you
tell
watched
us
the
how they're able to
have you watched the
use
Queen's
their waste, the waste from their environment to make income, generate income, I mean to say, and also create
It's what
impact in
happened
their
to me these
community.
days, and I feel like it's such a useless hobby. But it's not. It's going to make movies in the future. I'm coming.
In the next week, that's going to be December 14th.
He has not kept
We'll be
promise.
having the second
It's going
webinar.
to make movies
And
in
like
the
I
future.
said earlier, we will be continuing our project. Our project is in 6 months, from October to March 2025. So this is barely, let's say, barely third month of our project. So we have 3 months, 3 more months to go on this project. So I advise all of us to
Like,
be actively involved,
have you
especially
watched that
students
movie
in University of Jos,
of the boy and the
and
coach that is
also
looking for
outside. Thank you once more for your time. Thank you again, our speakers. We sincerely appreciate you. And thank you, Juan, for hosting us. Cheers.
Thank you so much for that hearty closing remark, Manuel. Thank you so much. So, as we leave this meeting, I hope we leave with the clarity that we are all advocates in ourselves, in and of ourselves. Thank you so much for attending this meeting. We look forward to seeing you in the second session. And after this, kindly follow us on all of our social media platforms, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. We are the Biochemistry Study Community. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Clap, 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 and went, Jerry.